Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 10 tight end start or sit decisions for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, we're going to be going in depth into every single matchup from Thursday Night Football all the way until Monday Night Football, and I'll be telling you guys whether I believe you should start or sit the tight ends in every single matchup. But before we can get on into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure to leave a like on today's video to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can hear about my week number 10 tight end start or sit decisions. I would also like to ask, if you guys are on Twitter and would like to follow me on there, to please do so at Notorious FNTSY. The link to my Twitter is also down below in the video description. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 10 tight end start or sit decisions. We begin with Thursday Night Football, the Baltimore Ravens at the Miami Dolphins. The quarterback situation in Miami is still very much up in the air, whether it's going to be Tua Tagovailoa or if that injury is going to take him out for this game as well, as it did last week up against the Houston Texans, and we see Jacoby Brissett under center. Personally, I do not believe whether it's Tua Tagovailoa or Jacoby Brissett matters all that much for the upside of Mr. Mike Licky on my Gesicki. I'm still going to play Mike Gesicki, whether Tua's the quarterback or Jacoby Brissett, because we've seen Mike Gesicki be valuable in terms of fantasy football with Tua and with Jacoby under center, so I'm not worried at all. Whichever quarterback it ends up being, I am playing Mike Gesicki, and I believe that he has top 5 upside on the week. I also believe that Mark Andrews has top 5 upside on the week. Now, we did see a lot more use of Rashad Bateman last week, but I do believe is definitely a tight end that you want to be starting on the week. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he found his way into the end zone in this game up against the Miami Dolphins. I expect the Baltimore Ravens to batter my Dolphins defense, and I expect Mark Andrews to put up a big showing in this game. I would not be surprised at all if at the end of the week we see both of these tight ends inside the top 5 in week number 10. Now, we move on to the Sunday slate of the games, beginning with the Buffalo Bills at the New York Jumbo Jets. There is some speculation that Dawson Knox could play in this game. Now, it is not 100% locked and loaded that he is going to be playing in this game, but if he does, he is a start for me. Dawson Knox was one of those top 5 tight ends a lot of the week. He was one of the best tight ends in fantasy football when the guy was healthy. We even saw him throw a 2-point conversion, or was that a touchdown? I think it was a 2-point conversion in his final game with a broken hand. This man is a menace. He is a beast. Going up against the Jumbo Jets, this will be a smash spot for Dawson Knox, and he could potentially be the number 1 tight end in fantasy football on the week if he is able to go. If he does not play, then obviously you're going to sit him down, and you're also going to be sitting down Mr. Tommy Sweeney. A couple of weeks ago, after Dawson Knox ended up getting hurt, a lot of people were like, you know what, now we can pivot to Tommy Sweeney. It's going to be the same thing. He's going to get the same amount of usage, and that was not true at all, because Dawson Knox, the reason why he's getting so much volume is because he's actually pretty fucking good. And it's not just because Josh Allen loves funneling the football to the tight end position. So Tommy Sweeney will be a sit for me if Dawson Knox plays, or if Dawson Knox does not play. I still don't want to give him a go up against the Jumbo Jets. For the Jets, they use Ryan Griffin. They use Croft as well. I just don't really want anything to do with any of these Jets tight ends. Next up, we move to the Buccaneers at the Washington Football Team. It appears that Rob Gronkowski is not going to get the nod to play in this game. So the Buccaneers, they've got O.J. Howard. They've got Cameron Brate. To me, it is a complete and utter guess on which one of those guys will outscore the other. And if neither of them end up finding their way on into the end zone, then probably neither of them will have any fantasy value in this game. I was really hinging on the fact that I thought Rob Gronkowski would be back in this game, but it seems like he may be a couple of weeks out from actually returning. So for me, I don't think any of these Buccaneers tight ends are worth the gamble. So O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate are going to be sits for me. In terms of the Washington Football Team, it is still up in the air if Logan Thomas comes back, just like with Dawson Knox, but I do believe that if he ends up playing in this matchup up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's just so juicy that you got to be playing him. Ricky Seals-Jones, if Logan Thomas does not end up playing, will be a start-worthy tight end for me. If Logan Thomas is in, then I'm not playing Ricky Seals-Jones. So basically, if Logan Thomas plays, you play Logan Thomas. If Logan Thomas does not play, then you play Ricky Seals-Jones. Next up, we move to the Atlanta Falcons at the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys just got absolutely embarrassed by the Denver Broncos, and I don't think that's going to happen again here up against the Atlanta Falcons. Dak Prescott was looking good at practice today. We saw him walking out all happy, all excited, because he knows what's about to go down. He's going to take the Atlanta Falcons defense on a one-way road to Pound Town, directly to Pound Town. I expect the Dallas Cowboys offense to look very good in this game. Dalton Schultz, it is still up in the air every single week how good this guy is going to do, because he has the upside to score 2 touchdowns in this game up against the Falcons, and there's also a chance that he just does nothing, right? He doesn't get those red zone targets and ends up getting like 5 points on the week, but at the end of the day, the amount of upside that Dalton Schultz presents weekly does make him a starting tight end in this game for the Falcons. Obviously, you're going to be playing Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts has been on a roll ever since that London game up against the Jumbo Jets, where he truly had that breakout game. He's been on a roll ever since. Calvin Ridley will not be there in this game, giving me even further confidence into playing Kyle Pitts. The Cowboys defense looked atrocious up against the Denver Broncos. I do expect them to wake up and actually play better in this game, but I still do believe that Kyle Pitts could be one of the best tight ends on the week, if not the #1 tight end at the end of the week. So I'm definitely playing Kyle Pitts. I'm also leaning very heavily into starting Dalton Schultz. The other Falcons tight end, they have Hayden Hurst. We have seen him score some touchdowns as of recently. We've seen him get some work as of recently, but at the end of the day, I just don't really trust him. I'd much rather put the eggs in the basket of Kyle Pitts. Next up, we move to the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Titans. In this game, I don't like any of the tight ends. The Tennessee Titans just use so many tight ends. They utilize a tight end by committee. They've got Ferkser. They've got Swaim. They have another tight end as well. I just don't really think you should be trusting the Titans tight ends at this point in the season. Even if Julio Jones doesn't end up playing, it is so up in the air which one of these guys is going to have the value, and a lot of the weeks, none of them end up having the value. For the New Orleans Saints, they've got Adam Troutman. They've got Jawan Johnson. It's another case of I don't really trust it. Going up against the Titans defense has done a complete and utter 180. At the beginning of the season, the Tennessee Titans defense fucking absolutely sucked donkey cock. No one expected the Titans defense to make this turnaround that they have made as of recently, looking really good last week up against the LA Rams, and over the last couple of games, they have definitely stood much taller than earlier on in the season. So based upon what I just said, you would probably think that I'm a bit worried about the Saints offense, and that would be the case. We don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be, and I just don't really trust Adam Troutman either. Next up, we move to the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Indianapolis Colts. The Jacksonville Jaguars are riding hot. They are on fire. They just defeated the Buffalo Bills, a team that most people thought would win the AFC, could win the AFC. They're like the #1 team in the AFC. Holy shit, the Buffalo Bills, they're putting their crown on them, and the Jacksonville Jaguars ripped that crown off and threw it across the room, because the Jaguars just absolutely, not even actually eviscerated the Bills, but they just slightly beat the Bills in that game. It was 9-6. But hey, a win's a win in my book, and Mr. Dan Arnold, get to the chopper. Dan Arnold, tight end of the Jacksonville Jaguars, has been very solid as of recently. I have very heavily invested into Dan Arnold in these videos recently, really talking him up, really banging the drum in favor of Dan Arnold. I love him this week up against the Indianapolis Colts. Carson Wentz allegedly going to be having a kid on Sunday, but he said, fuck them kids, bro. I am not going to see my child get born. We are going to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. You have to respect that. Mo Money, Mo Cox has been a little bit silent as of recently. I don't expect him to be necessarily a huge disappointment in this game, but I don't love him because I feel as though Jack Doyle has been getting a lot more work as of recently. Next up, we got the Detroit Lions at the Pittsburgh Steelers. In this game, I love both of the tight ends. Pat Freiermuth, ever since Eric Ebron went down, this guy has just become one of the key focal points in this Steelers offense. It appears that maybe Chase Claypool won't be good to go in this game, and that gives me even further confidence for Pat Freiermuth. This guy is a touchdown monster. I talked a lot about Freiermuth earlier on in the season. I apologize if I say his name wrong, but I said that, hey, this guy would be really good if they didn't have Eric Ebron. Like, if Eric Ebron wasn't there, I'd be very comfortable playing Mr. Freiermuth. And now, Eric Ebron's been banged up. Pat going up against the Detroit Lions. This is a smash matchup. I believe that Freiermuth is a must-start tight end this week. For the Detroit Lions, I like TJ Hawkinson a lot as well, but let me tell you, it has not been smooth sailing for TJ Hawkinson this season. I thought it was so simple. It was so easy to see the roadmap, I should say, for TJ Hawkinson's season, right? They don't have a single wide receiver of name. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Khalif Raymond, who the fuck are those guys? They aren't going to do anything. They're not going to suck up a lot of targets, so the ball is going to be peppered to TJ Hawkinson, but they're throwing the ball so much to DeAndre Swift, and TJ Hawkinson just has not been a locked and loaded tight end game in and game out. Now, you're going to start him every single game, but my confidence in him every single week is kind of diminishing. But at the end of the day, there's only so many good tight ends in fantasy football, and Hawkinson has the kind of upside to be one of those top 5 guys, so I'm going to fire him up this week up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But before we can get on into the next matchup, I would like to ask if you have ended up enjoying thus far, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. I would appreciate it a ton. Next up, we got the Cleveland Browns at the New England Patriots. The Browns now without Odell Beckham Jr. Odell goes to the LA Rams. Very interesting. I made a video a little bit ago. But, I was actually recording this video, and then I stopped recording to talk about Odell Beckham Jr. going to the LA Rams. Very interesting. You probably already gave your take in that video, but if you have a comment about it and want to talk about it, go ahead and leave it down below in the comment section. I love talking to you guys there, and we will be live at around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking about the game tonight, answer your guys' fantasy questions, so make sure you guys do check that out as well. So in this game, Browns at the New England Patriots. I love Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry, all this man does is score touchdowns. All DJ Khaled does is win, win, win no matter what. All Hunter Henry does is score fucking touchdowns game in and game out. Going up against the Cleveland Browns, I better believe he's going to find his way into the end zone again, so I love him in this matchup up against the Browns. They do use Jonnu Smith a decent amount, but Jonnu Smith has been basically irrelevant for fantasy football, and Hunter Henry has been very relevant, so I'm definitely going with Henry in this game. The Cleveland Browns are one of those other teams that utilize a fucking tight end by committee. They use Austin Hooper. They use David Njoku. They use another tight end as well, whose name is escaping me. None of them are very fantasy relevant. Wouldn't be surprised if any one of the three scored in this game without Odell Beckham Jr. being there. This Cleveland Browns offense has looked a lot better, but there is just absolutely zero safety in starting any of them. Next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings at the LA Chargers, and the biggest problem with the LA Chargers tight ends is not that Jared Cook is a bad player or anything. I think Jared Cook is still a pretty solid tight end, but the problem is that Donald fucking Parham always comes out of nowhere like an RKO from Randy Orton and just vultures a touchdown, just takes that touchdown like, holy shit, Jared Cook scored. He saved the day. Psych, that's Donald Parham. And then your fantasy day is ruined. Jared Goff, it's happened to him so many times this season, for Jared Cook, I should say, and it just keeps happening, and it happens again and again. I'm just sick and tired of it. There's no reason to be starting Jared Cook. You're not going to start Donald Parham because the guy gets like 3 targets a game, but I don't want anything to do with Jared Cook, even in what should be a high-scoring game up against the Minnesota Vikings. For the Vikings, I like Tyler Conklin in this matchup. He is a very touchdown-dependent tight end, but a lot of the tight ends, when you get lower and lower down the rankings, are kind of like that. Going up against the LA Chargers again, I do believe there's going to be a high-scoring game, so I like Conklin's chances of finding his way into the end zone. Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers at the Arizona Cardinals. The Carolina Panthers signed Cam Newton. Surprising. In my opinion, I actually was pretty surprised when that happened, but that's great for the Carolina Panthers, but that does not affect this week because Matt Rule already came out and said that Cam Newton, Mr. Wham Bam Cam, will not be playing in this game. So with that said, I don't love the Panthers in this game with PJ Walker, Ian Thomas, Tommy Make That Ass Tremble, tight ends of the Carolina Panthers. They just don't have all that much relevance for me. For the Arizona Cardinals, whether it's Short Man, Kyler Murray, or whether it's Colt McCoy, I don't give a fuck. I'm still playing Zach Ertz. I think he could score a tug in this game, one of my top 10 tight ends on the week. Next up, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Denver Broncos. It appears that Noah Fant is going to be good to go. Albert was a guy that I was pretty excited about last week. They obviously demolished the Cowboys. He didn't have all that great of a game. Noah Fant coming back. I expect him to be the number 1 tight end in this game. I think this could be a sneaky high-scoring game between the Eagles and the Broncos. Dallas Goedert is a start, but I'm starting to get very, 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 very nervous to like the 5th fucking degree about this offense and the passing attack. Nick Sirianni finally figured out that, hey, we can run the football. And it works. And that's great for the Eagles offense, but it's not great for the Eagles offense in fantasy football if you don't have any of the running backs. So Dallas Goedert, with them not passing the ball as much, my confidence in him has started to dwindle. Now, I like him in this game up against the Broncos, but I am a little bit nervous about his upside going forward with the fact that they do like to run the ball a lot more now as of recently over the last 2 games. Since Miles Sanders gets hurt, then they start running the ball. Makes sense, right, Mr. Nick Sirianni? Next up, we got the Seattle Seahawks at the Green Bay Packers. In this one, I don't like either of the tight ends. Big Bob Tunyon got hurt out for the year a couple of games ago up against the Arizona Cardinals. It does appear that Mr. Discount Double Check Aaron Rodgers will be back in this game, but even so, do you really want to be playing Mercedes Lewis in 2021? Probably not. And then Gerald Everett, you need to hope for that tight end. They also use other tight ends on the team. I just don't love it. Early on in the season, things were looking bright, but as of recently, it is no bueno for him. Russell Wilson should be back, though, so that is good for the Seahawks offense. Next up, we got the Kansas City Chiefs at the, turn your volume down, the Las Vegas Raiders. We got Travis Kelce and Darren Waller, the number 1 and number 2 tight end off the board in a majority of drafts all the way back in August. We are now in November, which is crazy. It is November 11th. Wow, we're almost in December. Travis Kelce, Darren Waller. I understand Travis Kelce hasn't been all that great as of recently, Nick. The Chiefs offense sucks, man. What happened to the Chiefs? Should I start Travis Kelce? You gotta start Travis Kelce, dude. This guy could be in a fucking wheelchair, and I'd still roll him out in terms of fantasy football. That's just how good he is. He's gonna have his down games. The Chiefs have not looked great as of recently, but at the end of the day, you cannot sit Travis Kelce. Darren Waller should be a top-tier option in this game up against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs' defense is complete and utter dog shit. Wouldn't be surprised if Darren Waller had one of the biggest games of his season this week up against the Chiefs. And final game here, we got Monday Night Football between the LA Rams at the San Francisco 49ers. In this game, you're firing up both tight ends. Nick, last week you told me to sit George Kittle. How does that feel, you fucking idiot? And I was wrong. Swing and a miss. I thought, hey, George Kittle, 50% snap count. Why do you want to be playing that? And then George Kittle whipped his cock out and slapped around the defense, hung 1,000,000 points on him. I'm never doubting George Kittle again. When the guy plays, you fucking play him. It's that simple. I'm an idiot for even thinking that 50% timeshare was going to actually happen. It didn't happen at all. The guy was a menace in that game. I expect George Kittle to have a solid showing here up against the Rams. For the Rams, I'm playing Tyler Higbee. Odell is set to suit up on Monday Night Football. Very interesting to see how that's going to work for the offense. I don't love Tyler Higbee, but I think this could be a higher scoring game where the Rams really go to town in this game. They just lost to the Titans. I expect a solid showing for them. So maybe Tyler Higbee moseys his way on into the end zones. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button as well. I would appreciate it a ton. I love each and every single one of you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, goodbye.